Huge clash this week. Fremantle have travelled to the hub. They tackle Brisbane. Twomey taking a look at the Lions. Pretty disappointing in round one after what they showed last year.
They were shocking, Mitch. They put in a really poor performance against Hawthorn at the MCG. Look, it was one of those interesting days in footy, wasn't it, where everyone knew the end of the season at that point was going to be suspended. So maybe you give them a little bit of leeway on that front. There was so much uncertainty going into that game, but they were really poor. So they would have been disappointed with that performance coming on the back of particularly their straight sets exit of the finals last year. So that was a poor performance from the Lions, and you'd expect them to bounce back in the coming weeks. They weren't the only poor team in round one, though, because Fremantle started really poorly against the Bombers, and that ended up costing them.
The skill area is going to be a big talking point for the Dockers this year. Longmuir has put it on the table right from the start and wasn't good enough against Essendon. They gave themselves a chance really late. Andy Brayshaw had a chance to almost steal the game. They failed to take that, and now it's going to be a big 4 weeks.
And shorter quarters probably cost them. If that game had gone a couple more minutes, they probably would have got over the line against the Bombers.
Yeah, so the Lions and Dockers, they both got a number of injury headaches. The Lions had a big one coming out of round one, but the break might have done them pretty good.
Well, last week Chris Fagan called Stephen Martin a freak. Yeah. And it's fair enough, because in round one he went down with a PCL injury. That's sort of 10 to 12 weeks on the sidelines, Mitch. Well, he's done that time on the sidelines and he's fit and available. So he's a key player for them, clearly, with their midfield being so strong and one of the better midfielders in the game. They need a ruckman who's up and about to feed that midfield. So Stephen Martin, fit and available. The only real injury concern heading into the season restart for them is Marcus Adams in defence. Had further foot surgery. We know he's had foot issues in the past as well, the former Bulldog. But he'll be out of action for a few more weeks yet before he's ready for selection.
And on the Fremantle front, we know Alex Pearce and Joel Hamling, long-term concerns. That is a big issue because they're pretty skinny apart from that in defence. Griffin Logue was fantastic in round one. A big emphasis falls on his shoulders with both of their injuries. Liam Henry, the first-round pick, so much hyped about him at the end of last year. Had the knee injury going into the season, went back home, up north to WA during the shutdown period, and that knee regressed slightly. So still, Dockers fans are still going to have to wait a little bit for him. The good news is, though, that David Mundy missed round one. With that broken leg, he'll be ready to return.
That's good. It's good, very good news. And it's interesting where it sits now for the Dockers. And I've got a big question for you. What is the big question heading into the rest of the season for the Dockers? Because they're an interesting place side. New coach. What's his first priority? Well,
we mentioned the skill error, and that was deplorable in the first half against Essendon. And let's hope they've been out to their local parks and having some kicks with teammates during the shutdown period, because they need to work on that. The other thing is almost a luxury of riches when it comes to the forward line. So we didn't see Jesse Hogan in round one. Cam McCarthy won't play this week, but he's been moved up to a wing. Rory Lobb, Matt Taberner in that side, and Sam Sturt was a great find in round one. So how Longmuir fits all of those guys into the same team will be a bit of a headache, and keen to see how that one unfolds. As for the Lions, you can't fit 26 or 27 into 22, though.
It's a very, very good squad, isn't it? And they're a serious challenge this year, and they should be on the back of last year's performance. The question is, how do they take that step further? Because last year, finished top four in the home and away season, bundled out in straight sets, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. Look, they lost to Collingwood last year, they lost to Richmond twice, they lost to the Greater Western Sydney Giants as well. So that shows that they may be a little bit off those top-rung teams, the sides who've got real finals experience. So that last year will help. My question still remains, how does that forward line work, and how much better can Eric Hipwood be as that main key forward? Is he as good and consistent as the key forwards in the competition like Jack Riewoldt and Tom Lynch? These type of guys who lead sides right to the path of glory. Yep. You know, Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling have done it a couple of years ago as well. Are the Lions well suited and well enough equipped in that department of the game to make it happen? Also, their half-back line is going to be one that's really interesting to watch. They're clearly pretty keen to get Grant Birchall in to fill that Luke Hodge role. So how did they replace Hodgie in that half-back line? Also, Callum Archie is someone who they're keen to throw some speed up there. So yeah, really interesting to see how Chris Fagan and his team adjust the magnet board.
Well, Eric the Eel, he won't get a better chance to kick a bag than this weekend. At the Gabba, no Hamling, no Pearce. Let's see how the Lions go against the Dockers.